Unpopular opinions, these people really think differently. There is no honor in dying for your country. You are told it is the right thing to sign up as a conscript and fight and die for country when your country needs your service. But in reality, you are only fighting for your country just because you were born into it. If you were born in the US, you'd fight for the US, and if you were born in Mongolia, you would have fought in the Mongolian military. The people you are going to fight and kill are just like you, just that they were born in a different place than you were. You are no different than them. There is no honor in fighting for your country, just as there is no honor in fighting for a perceived principle, such as freedom or liberty, your country stands for. You are told you are defending your country and freedom and democracy, but most of the time, you are not even defending the people of your country, but its government and the administrative class. Other times, you are essentially fighting for oil companies that has lobbied your government into instigating a war for their profit. All you get being a soldier is a thank you for your service from a complete stranger as you whiz past them on your wheelchair in a supermarket, while you have to live with the guilt that you killed innocent men and women, who were just following orders just like you were, for someone you've not ever seen in real life, who sat in a well-furnished room in the comfort of your country's capital and signed a piece of paper. If someone is a cashier at a common fast food place, they should be able to speak in the most common language of the country they are in. There are too many times while in Texas where I get the response from cashiers of no habla inglés while trying to order food from fast food joints is ridiculous. I immigrated to America from Korea and was fluent fairly quickly, and I think if someone is working a customer-facing job in an English-speaking country, they should be able to speak English. I would expect the same, that if you are working as a cashier or anything in Korea, you should be able to speak Korean. I don't know if I'm crazy or what though. It's not death itself that we should be truly afraid of. It's living an unhappy and unfulfilling life that we should truly fear. When I die, I want to die with a smile on my face. To smile with the knowledge that, in spite of my flaws, vices, mistakes and regrets, I have ultimately lived a life well lived. I'm sure that everyone who has accepted the inevitability of death has similar wishes. The real question though is what counts as a life well lived. For example, have you done anything to help others, or has your every action caused harm instead? Do you have what truly matters to you, even if it means not having everything that you desire? Are you satisfied with what you have accomplished, even if it might mean little in the grand scheme of things? It's okay to be afraid of death. However, living an unhappy and unfulfilling life means that you may not have even truly lived a life before your inevitable death. A cashless society is a dumb idea. I know there are people that claim that removing cash from society would reduce financial crime and theft in the underground markets, but that's just a byproduct of society, not of cash, and removing cash wouldn't remove the underground market. They would find something else that holds value to trade with. And scams happen all the time. If cash was removed from society today, everyone would be forced to put their money into banks, otherwise it would be worthless. This creates a problem as banks can now add new fees to all transactions and get away with it as people need to use a bank to store their money, impacting the poor and elderly the most. Not to mention, this would allow the government to track every single person's spending habits, and do I really need to say why that's bad? Now that all the money has been collected, notes should be destroyed and coins should be melted into something useful, but now the value of money is not tied to anything physical and essentially becomes worthless. Let's say one day you decide to invest and buy a 10K bond from a business. In order to buy that bond, you need to have a bank card. You can't just store your own money and buy it yourself. Now all transactions are controlled by the bank or state. Alternatively, you need to create your own bank card, but who's to say you can easily transfer your money? Then when it gets paid back, you need a bank card to accept that money. You can't just accept cash and leave the bank out of the equation. No, you need a middleman now. The state would essentially be saying they can't trust people to take care of their own money. What about kids? No longer can parents just give their kid a note to pay with, they have to have their own card, PIN and etc. Can you really trust kids with that kind of responsibility when all they want to do is to buy some ice cream? In a cashless society, it would just involve numbers going from one account to another, with no real value tied to it. No gold to back it up, no physical currency. People could easily manipulate this system to get it in their own favor, since money has no real value. A cashless society would lead to a surveillance/police state like China. All your moves and purchases would be tracked and you could be assigned some kind of score. The West claims to be better and have more freedom, but they are just going to become the same thing. And people won't realize their rights are slowly being stripped away one by one before it's too late. Dark mode is overrated. Like the title states, I think dark mode makes everything feel very cramped and busy. Since my brain has been trained to see white as background and black as foreground, switching the two really messes with my creativity and motivation. I get the whole less eye pain thing, but I just turn my brightness down really low on my monitor and turn on flux. OLED/QLED panels are an exception, since their black actually saves battery on phones. Pre-ordering video games should be cheaper. Think about it, you're investing into a project you don't know whether or not will succeed. Considering the fact that you're willing to take the risk, I think it only makes sense that pre-ordering a game should be rewarded by having it be cheaper than buying it at release. Kind of like how airplane tickets are cheaper if you buy them in advance, I think the same should apply here. Picking your nose isn't gross. Not picking your nose is gross. It's the best way to clean your nasal canal, and a tissue simply doesn't get the job done. And of course, wash your hands after. There's so much stigma around this and I think it's really unnecessary. If your child kicks/keeps hitting the seat in front of them on a jet or other transportation, don't get mad when someone yells at them. I don't care, they are a child. Learn to control your kids. Applies to anything really, restaurant, theater, etc. back in the days when humans used to travel en masse. I had been on so much public transportation. Even in other countries. And there was always a child Ren that would kick/hit someone's seat in front of them. Sometimes mine. I never used to say anything when I was younger because they're children. But now that I am a get off my lawn older man, I look back every time. If it continues I say, can you please have your child stop hitting my seat? If that doesn't work I tell the workers on the transport, assuming there is any that can do anything. I am tired of people making excuses about them being kids or don't talk to my kid like that or other crap. If you can't control your child then it reflects poorly on you. To note, if your child is disabled, obviously I'm more willing to deal with it because of what they have. Should note this also applies to your kid at a theater, restaurant, etc. I hate screaming kids that have tantrums. Even worse when their parents don't even care how their kid acts. Like your brat standing on his seat and playing with my hair as I eat. Ugh. Only special note for these situations is if you're in a theater seeing some G-rated little kids movies, then you can't really expect peace. Not that you want chaos either, mind you. Roadside billboards should be illegal because they are made to be effective at catching the eyes of drivers. The argument can be different for passengers, but driving alone is the main focus. When designing a billboard, the designers want to put in place as many of features for you to look at them. Textbooks with questions and answers but not how to get the answers is stupid. During this pandemic a lot of students in the world are left with no choice but to study themselves. Oftentimes there are books that have no method to get answers. This really is stupid. When you buy books, especially math and physics, you should buy only the ones that shows the method for you to study. It's perfectly fine not to sacrifice yourself for your spouse. No, you are not a coward. Everyone, every human, every animal is biologically built to survive. Sure, you love your spouse and everything, but you're not obligated to sacrifice yourself for them. I have seen some post in a subreddit about someone asking if he's the asshole because there was an attack in the mall and he escaped forgetting his wife in the mall. Some people told him that he's a coward and all. And he feels guilty. I don't understand. It's natural to feel guilty, but why is he a coward? Just because he wanted to survive? His wife can run just fine and it's not like she's handicapped or something. Sure, this is definitely 100% a fictional and fake situation like everything else in that subreddit, but my point stands still. No, you are not a coward or should feel guilty just because you are not willing to sacrifice yourself for your spouse. Some stuff like these happen like 1 in 1 million, but if happened then it's only logical for your instinct to kick off and run. This applies to close friends too. This is not an anime. This is the real life. Besides, nothing assures you that once you do it then the danger will just disappear forever, you might lose yourself for nothing. Edit. Also, although this should apply to all genders, this is actually meant more for men than women for obvious reasons. Cryptocurrency is bullshit. It creates far more serious problems than it solves. It's supposed to be a decentralized record-keeping structure but, in reality, is both centralized and horribly inefficient. These systems require an obscene amount of energy to function. And the blockchains are not decentralized and they're not efficient, so that undercuts the two main points in their favor. Cryptocurrencies don't actually work as currencies. Cryptocurrencies are notoriously volatile moment to moment. Few legitimate merchants take cryptocurrency, and they aren't actually taking cryptocurrency. They're using a service that allows them to price in dollars, and that service immediately sells the cryptocurrency and deposits the dollars with the merchants. So there's a mandatory conversion step. Cryptocurrency exchanges are not like regular stock exchanges. In a stock market exchange, stocks are all tied together so the prices are very close. These cryptocurrency exchanges are unregulated entities that allow all sorts of things that are outright frauds. For example, in a regular stock exchange, people are not allowed to trade with themselves because that's price manipulation. But that's a regular occurrence on these cryptocurrency exchanges. Some of these cryptocurrency exchanges are accused of front-running as well, which means the people who run them are using their access to see what customers want to trade and then trading ahead of them to get an advantage. There are also plausible claims about insider trading in various cryptocurrency exchanges. In order to make a cryptocurrency work, it needs stability. The value has to hold. So what is needed is an entity that will take, say, dollars, and give crypto dollars one for one and vice versa. But we already have these institutions, they're called banks and they use banknotes. And if a cryptocurrency is built that way, there is one of three choices. 1. Act like a regulated financial entity like PayPal or Venmo and don't allow the criminality. So where's the novelty there? 2. Become like a wildcat bank from the 1800s and issue banknotes that aren't backed, but then run the risk of a bank run and the value going to zero. So what's the point? 3. Have a cryptocurrency that actually is backed by money, and doesn't allow criminal activity, but that's been tried before. It was called Liberty Reserve, and it was shut down for money laundering in 2013 by the US government. Even if the system becomes stable and efficient, then what? There is nothing stopping countries or individuals under international sanctions such as North Korea or Russia from circumventing sanctions. It allows for money laundering, the financing of terrorism, genocide, and other crimes against humanity that would otherwise be blocked by individual countries and international regulatory bodies. Any perceived individual liberty gains from a cryptocurrency are immediately eclipsed and buried by its drawbacks. Equity in society is unachievable and undesirable. Equity is the socio-political buzzword of our times in the US. It is impossible to achieve because of the heterogeneity of people's intelligence, character, education, temperament, personality amongst many other factors. Success is achieved through some measure or combination of exceptional performance. If equity were achieved, it necessitates a lowered standard reduced to some average common denominator. We celebrate athletic achievement in America. Why do so many people resent personal and professional achievement? Isn't it a better example to raise children and young adults to strive for success rather than tell them relax? Everyone ends up in the same place. How awful. You should need a license to become a parent. Obviously. It would almost completely eradicate childhood abuse and neglect. No teen pregnancies. Half of parents today wouldn't be parents if this were the case. My parents wouldn't be parents. Lol. Wow, these are some upsetting opinions, so I need to make a disclaimer here. They aren't mine. Like the content? If yes, hit subscribe.